A terrifying story for parents tonight. A high school quarterback from New Jersey is dead after being hit on the field and then he collapses.
He had a $50,000 fine, which got reduced to $25,000 after he appealed. He's going to get another one.
Deserved.
I mean, they make it pretty simple.
17-year-old Evan Murray is the third high school player to die from field injuries so far this season here in the U.S. And now take a look at this. This is a Friday night game, this last Friday, right here in the Tri-State. This Turpin player hit right there. You see the helmet fly off. His head slams against the ground there in the end zone. Now, Turpin High School tells 9 on your side, Adrian Banker is going through concussion protocols right now, and he will not play until a doctor signs off on things. Our thoughts are with him tonight during.
Their player on the field, and the Georgia athletic training staff first ones there in the near sideline to look after him.
We hadn't gotten a number.
I'm one of 3 children, the baby to my older sister Morgan and older brother Mike. The 3 of us have always been close. My brother Mike is one of my favorite people in this world, but his favorite thing in this world is football. He started playing in 1st grade. I decided to make this documentary because a few years ago, my brother's life was changed forever due to concussions from football. For the first time in my life, I felt like I didn't know who he was. We've never really talked about his condition until now.
Starting spot, then I got a concussion during training camp. I got kicked in the ear on a peelback block on a screen and went to sleep. Never said anything, just kept playing, and it wasn't until the meeting later that night that I was so out of it, almost like falling down the stairs, that I think this is what happened, but I don't really remember. But I almost fell down the stairs, and then my coach grabbed me and looked at me, and he just was like, "Oh, you're not okay," and sat me down. And they called the trainer. And then my second concussion at New Haven, I was on kickoff return. And I remember this because it was like our second to last game or last game of the season. So I'm playing fullback, so I'm the up back. The guy who's getting the kickoff return is behind me. So a lot of times my block is the one that sets the play up. I'm gonna set a block, and he's gonna run off my hip, and that's where the play goes. So usually they used to call that the wedge. So I'm in a retreat position the whole time, waiting for a guy to come 50 yards downfield at full sprint to meet me. So we played this. I have distinct memory of this. This is one of the few things that I remember well from New Haven, because I watched it on film afterwards. Ohio Dominican, this dude, pretty well-built white guy, comes down the field. Me and him make great contact, and on film you can see it. It's almost like we both go right to sleep, and you see our heads like fall back and our arms fall for like a couple seconds, and then we both like snap back into it and continue the play on. And I remember I was freaking out, and I reached into my throat because I thought that I swallowed my mouth guard, and I reached in my mouth and pulled my mouth guard out, and immediately it felt like I was getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer. Walked over the side. So I can remember this. When I met with my trainer, they had this guy, his name was Ivan, and he told me that my head hurt because I played football. So it's one thing that if you go out there and you tear your ACL and you can't walk on your knee, people could see clearly there's something wrong with your knee. But the problem with your head is when it comes to your head, unless you're asleep or you can't function, people aren't going to think that you're hurt. So when I was at New Haven, I felt like they thought that I didn't want to practice in 100 degrees on the hot turf and go through a 3-a-day. So I was just, trying my hardest to go back as soon as possible because I didn't want to look like that kid that didn't want to play. But there's no way for me to show you the mental dysfunction that I'm dealing with. So it was like, they're not urging you to go back and play, but they are. So initially you're not scared, at least I wasn't. You're kind of just numb, and you're just like, oh, you just got knocked out, dude. So you kind of try and get your bearings together, at least for me, but I didn't really I developed this sick thought that when I made good contact with someone, that feeling that you get, and you have to experience it to know, when you hit someone as hard as you can and blow them up, you get this, I used to get this, this rush, like it was like a high that I used to fiend for. So the term that we used to use is when you take someone's life on the field, when you not knock him out, but knock him on his ass, knock him out, that feeling, I used to fiend for it. So essentially it was I was just hitting him so hard that I was concussing my brain, and I would get that numbness, and I loved it because it was that's how I measured. That was my measuring scale of how hard I just hit this dude. So I never was scared. I almost liked it, but it wasn't. When I came home for Thanksgiving, I can remember this is one of the very distinct memories that I have, because I don't really remember anything from my senior year at Malvern or anything from New Haven. I have 5 things that I remember, and that's it. But the one thing that was when I knew I was beat, when I knew I had issues, was when I came home for Thanksgiving, and I was sitting at the table. Mike's sitting at the one end of the table, and I'm sitting at the other end of the table. And I'm sitting there. Both my sister's now husband was there. I'm sitting at the end of the table, and I'm looking at these people, and I had an out-of-body experience. I felt like I was sitting in the corner of the room watching the dinner go on. And I was like, I don't know who these people are. Obviously, I know that they're my family, but I don't remember anything because, in my opinion, essentially your family is a number of experiences that you've shared with those people, and that's how you establish a relationship. You remember things that you've done with them. So I couldn't remember any of that, so I'm sitting at the head of the table I don't know who you are. And then I remember my sister's husband told a story, and he was like, yeah, remember that? And I was like, no. And then he continued to add more details to try and get me to remember what he was talking about, the story, and I had no recollection, to the point where I was just all right, man, you gotta cool out, I don't know what you're talking about. And then my sister Morgan was like, Vince, you need to leave him alone because he doesn't know what you're talking about. And then I think at that moment the light went off. Then Donna, after that, took me to the neurologist. Went to the neurologist, and what he said to me was, I can't tell you to stop playing football, but I can tell you that you shouldn't. And at that point, I was a bystander, just going through the motions. Couldn't really remember much. The thought processes weren't that. Was no higher level thinking going on. So I'd show up to class and I would just sit there, not know what's going on, who any of these people are, and I didn't want to be there. When I was at Westchester for 2 years, I used to just lay there, and I would write this suicide note in my head, and in the note I would write it to my family, and I would tell them that I just wanted to leave because I'm not happy, and if I wasn't alive then I couldn't feel the pain, and the pain would be gone. So I'm writing this to you because I don't want you to be upset that I'm gone, but you have to accept the fact that I'm now at rest and I'm not in pain anymore. So I used to think about, lay there in bed and write the letter in my head 100 times, and how I was just going to leave the letter and kill myself, and then that would be the only way to end it. But when I would have those thoughts, the only reason that I never killed myself was because I used to have this image at my funeral. I'm watching everyone at my funeral, and Donna is standing over my casket crying. And that was like the determining factor of why I was like, you can't do that, because if you kill yourself, it's going to ruin her life. She'll never be able to accept that and get over it. So. Well, I can't say that I ever really got treatment. It was more of a healing process that consisted of no longer getting head injuries. There was nothing that I did differently. I just didn't participate in any contact. In reality, if all of this were to occur today, I would get treatment from a bunch of different modalities, and I probably wouldn't have continued to go to school. But I just assumed life is how it was, and I just dealt with it. I think that we're going to see a lot of changes. Like, we obviously already are seeing changes with the whole head injury, CTE as they call it, and it's good because people had a lack there of knowledge in the past, and that's why it got so bad. And now that new information is being presented, that it's going to be safer. So be able to ever go to a graduate school and do well because of my mental dysfunction. So it was really her original idea, but after I finished at Westchester and during my time at Westchester, I started to bodybuild, which I'd always been big into weight training. So after I started to bodybuild, then I got very interested in bodybuilding, the human body in itself, and nutrition. So I had to find a new passion. So my new passion was weight training, exercise, and nutrition. With that being said, it only contributed to me wanting to become a chiropractor, given that they have a wide scope of practice. So now I'm in chiropractic college and learning all about the body. I have the exercise science background. I'm going to get my master's in nutrition